Every single organization, doesn't matter if it's a tiny startup or a global powerhouse, is trying to get somewhere. They have goals. But standing between them and those goals is this huge, unpredictable ocean of uncertainty. So how do you even begin to cross it? Well, today we're grabbing the map. And that map is the International Standard for Risk Management, ISO 31000. Let's chart our course.
Right. This is really the fundamental question, isn't it? For a startup, that C might be finding that perfect product-market fit before the cash runs out. For a massive corporation, it could be navigating tricky geopolitical shifts. The scale is totally different, but the need for a solid map, that never changes. The answer really lies in a structured, disciplined way of thinking about what's coming. It lies in managing risk.
Okay, before we dive any deeper, we have got to be crystal clear on what we're even talking about. And according to the ISO 31000 standard, this is the official definition. It sounds simple, but it is so powerful. See, risk isn't some big, scary monster hiding under the bed. It's just the effect, any effect, good or bad, that uncertainty has on what you're trying to accomplish.
And right here, this is the first huge mindset shift that ISO 31000 asks us to make. We're all kind of conditioned to see risk as a negative thing, right? Threats we have to avoid or mitigate. But uncertainty, it cuts both ways. Think about it. A sudden shift in what consumers want could be a major threat to your current product line, or it could be a massive opportunity for a brand new one. Managing risk isn't just about playing defense. It's about being ready to play some serious offense.
So how does ISO 31000 actually suggest we do all this? Well, it breaks everything down into three core interconnected parts. I want you to think of them as the essential tools for our journey. The principles are our compass. The framework is the actual ship we're going to build. And the process is how we actively steer that ship. We're going to break down each one.
Let's start with the compass. The principles are really the fundamental beliefs, the philosophy that guides every single risk management activity. They're our true north, making sure we're always heading in the right direction.
So what is that direction? What's the whole point of this anyway? Look right at the center of this diagram. The ultimate purpose of managing risk is to create and protect value. And hey, this isn't just some empty corporate speak. It means if you manage your supply chain risks well, your products are actually on the shelves when people want to buy them. That protects your revenue, it protects your brand's value. It's all about turning risk management from a boring cost center into a real strategic advantage.
Now, one of the most critical principles here deals with how we should be thinking about risk in our day-to-day work. It is absolutely not something you just tack on at the end of a project. And it's definitely not some separate department whose only job is to say no.
Exactly. It has to be woven into the very fabric of the organization. What this looks like in practice is the marketing team talking about brand reputation risk when they plan a new campaign. It's the engineering team discussing technical debt as a risk to their future speed. See, it's not a separate box you check, it's a lens you use to make every single decision.
And the principles give us even more guidance. Risk management has to be customized. I mean, the risks for a software company are just wildly different from those for a construction firm, right? It's got to be dynamic because a new competitor can pop up literally overnight. It should be inclusive because, trust me, your frontline employees often see risks way before the C-suite does. And it has to be based on the best available information, not just gut feelings.
Okay, so we have our compass, those principles that guide us. But a compass isn't much good if you don't have a vessel. And that brings us to the framework. This is the ship we need to build to carry us on this journey. It's the whole structure that supports risk management across the entire organization.
And what's really fascinating about this diagram is what's sitting right in the middle. The engine of this ship, the thing that makes it all go, is leadership and commitment. I'm telling you, without active, visible support from the very top, this framework is just a pretty picture on a slide. It's not going anywhere.
Top management has a huge job here. If they don't allocate a real budget and real time, it's all just talk. If they don't assign clear accountability for who owns what, then everyone just assumes it's someone else's problem. And if they don't constantly communicate why this stuff matters, it's just going to be seen as another bureaucratic hoop to jump through, and it's destined to fail.
All right, we've got our compass, and we have our ship. Now it's time for the voyage itself. This is the process, the active, hands-on, step-by-step method for navigating those day-to-day uncertainties we all face.
Now, when you look at this diagram, you might be tempted to see a checklist. Do step 1, then step 2, and boom, you're done. That is the biggest mistake people make. Look at the arrows, that circular flow. This is a continuous loop. You are constantly communicating, you're monitoring, you're reviewing, because that ocean of uncertainty, it is always in motion.
So the real heart of this voyage is what's called risk assessment. Let's use a super simple example, a coffee shop. First, risk identification. What could go wrong? Well, our key supplier for our amazing coffee beans could go out of business. Okay. Next, risk analysis. What are the odds of that, and how bad would it be? We figure it's a pretty low probability, but wow, it would seriously hurt our quality. And finally, risk evaluation. We compare. Is this more or less urgent than that new competitor opening up across the street? This is how we prioritize what to worry about first.
And that evaluation, that's the trigger for the next major phase. Because once you've assessed the risk, you have to actually make a decision. What are we going to do about it? This is what we call risk treatment.
And this is brilliant because it shows just how much flexibility you have. You could avoid that supplier risk entirely by just switching to a bigger, more stable one. You could change the likelihood by signing a longer-term contract with them. You could share the risk by having multiple suppliers. Or you could just retain it, deciding that the cost of changing is too high right now, but you're going to keep a close eye on it. The key thing here is, it's always a strategic choice.
So we've talked about the compass, the ship, and the voyage, the principles, the framework, and the process. But where are we actually going? What's the final destination of this whole journey? What's the ultimate payoff for all this hard work? Honestly, the standard itself just says it best. This quote, it gets right to the very heart of it all. It's not about creating more bureaucracy or just trying to avoid failure. It's a proactive, strategic discipline for creating value, for improving performance, and for actually hitting your goals. So if there's one thing to take away, it's this. By systematically facing uncertainty, you're not trying to become a fortune teller. You're trying to build an organization that's more resilient, more agile, and just more aware. And that is what gives you the clarity and the confidence to make bold, smart decisions, even when the future looks a little foggy.
And that brings it all right back to you. Whether you're running a team, a project, or a whole company, you are on a journey through uncertainty. So the question I want to leave you with is this. What's the biggest uncertainty on your map right now? And what tools are you using to navigate it?